Hello to our next installment of MindMatters Masterclass. Good evening. My name is Glenn Lim. I'm the host for tonight. I'm also the co-founder of Breakthrough Therapy and Academy. And tonight we have a great privilege to partner with ECTA and of course our guest speaker, Dr. Jessica Leong. She is known as the veteran pioneer in the work of transactional analysis, very powerful modality that treats even early childhood trauma into Asia, and she is the pioneer founder of the Transactional Analysis Society in Singapore. She has been the president for a great number of years, and today she sits as the advisor. And I have the great honor of calling her my mentor, teacher, lecturer, because I've known her since the late 90s. So it gives me great pleasure right now to invite Dr. Jessica Leong to speak to us today about healing early wounds with transactional analysis.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for inviting me to this 1-hour seminar on healing early emotional wounds through the lens of transactional analysis. Thank you, Glenn Lim, for including me in this series of talk. And as I look at the monitor, I have a kind of nostalgic feeling, a bit emotional. I can see Masters 1 here. I can see Masters 3 here. And I can see so many familiar faces and graduates of the Executive Counselling and Training Academy. Thank you once again for this connection of transactional analysis. I want to spend a little bit of time explaining what is transactional analysis. So tonight, I would like to apply transactional analysis, or TA in short, as a modality to uncover the early woundings that somehow might unconsciously lead to early decisions. And most of the time, these early decisions are made so subconsciously and unconsciously, and without our awareness, we live our life not based on the here and now as an adult, but rather in the past. So some of us are not even aware that we have made these early decisions. The second thing I would like to achieve is to help us to appreciate why script. A script is a jargon. It is very TA. Script means early trauma that has impacted you. So I would like to share about script analysis to help us to understand how important it is to, first of all, understand our scripts so that we can begin to help ourselves to heal ourselves first so that we can heal others. I think there's something there. Yeah. Transactional analysis. Transactional analysis is a fascinating field within social psychology. Psychology is the study of the mind. Social is a human mind that provides a down-to-earth practical framework for understanding for understanding human behavior and human personality, as well as improving interpersonal relationship. I think this is very, very important because when I begin to understand why do I sabotage myself, why do I begin to be gravitating to relationships that end up in very acrimonious outcome? How did this happen in my interpersonal relationship? Another fascinating thing about transactional analysis is that you can use it in clinical setting that will be for counseling and psychotherapy. You can also use it in a school setting, and of course, you can use it in an organizational setting. I just would like to acknowledge the man who brought transactional analysis to the world. He was a psychiatrist, and he was Dr. Eric Berne, born in Montreal, and set up transactional analysis in California. He was the person who first brought about TA as a method of counseling, as a method of psychotherapy for the management of especially early human wounding that could lead to dysfunction or sometimes affect the efficacy of life. And thirdly, transactional analysis is a system for improving our personal effectiveness, our personal functioning, and most of all, our human interpersonal relationships. So in one sentence, how do we apply TA? I think by the time it is 9:05, transactional analysis will bring about this very important stage of a person's life, that is personal awareness. And one of the things I remember when I met Dr. Daniel Goleman, the man who brought emotional intelligence to the world, he said that a person with high EQ would have a lot of personal awareness, personal understanding. Because if I can understand my past, then I can begin to heal my early wounds or my trauma that I had undergone as a young person. So transactional analysis is very holistic because it brings about constructive changes in emotion. So for example, if you have a client who comes in with a lot of sadness and with a lot of hurt, and one of the things transactional analysis does is to help them to heal the negative emotion. It will also help us to change our thinking. And so in a way, there are some similarities between transactional analysis and cognitive behavioral therapy. And also, transactional analysis can also help us either to modify our behaviors or to change our behaviors. So if you ask me in one sentence, transactional analysis can help us to change our thinking. It can also help us to change our feelings and our emotions. Programming, where it's as if without you realizing it, it is like an early programming which is being recorded in your brain, and it is as it is being recorded, it is actually level or an unconscious level. And after you have recorded that early programming, you begin to make an early decision in early childhood, especially below 12, about the kind of person you are, about the kind of life you would like to live. So script is usually reinforced by the influence of parental figures or authoritative figures in respect to the child's interpretation of external events or messages that they receive verbally and non-verbally. So maybe if I could pause a while, I remember when I was 9 years old. I remember when I came back from school, I was from Fairfield Methodist Girls' School. And when I came home, I recorded in my brain coming home to the little Zing home in Bukit Merah. My mother came from a lower social income group, and she was actually the second wife of my dad. And his first wife did not know about our existence. So I remember when I was 9 years old, when I came back from school, my mother had actually left. And when she left, we had 4 brothers and sisters, and my mom actually chose my oldest brother, and she chose my youngest sister, but she did not choose me. And at that moment, I began to record that I was not good enough to be chosen. I wasn't even aware that I was looking at my life at that time, that I, Jessica, was not good enough. And as I begin, when my father came and he brought me back to his first wife, looking at the authoritative figure there, I think they were in a state of shock when my father brought me to join his first wife. And as I begin to interpret the external events, I didn't think they wanted me to be part of this family. I didn't think they wanted me to be part of their family because I also brought along my brother. He was then 6 years old and he had cerebral palsy, and he was brought in on a wheelchair. So when my dad brought us back, they did not say so verbally, but from their facial expression and from the tone of their voices, I knew that I was not accepted. 9 years old, I felt the first experience of early rejection, very early rejection, that I was not good enough to be chosen and I was not accepted by this family. And then Dr. Burns said, when you begin to uncover ways of digging into your past, so what they do in some psychotherapeutic theories and intervention, they actually help the client to dig into the past, to look at the past. And when you begin to dig into your past, either at personal level or in a counseling setting, you begin to find out what has caused you harm. I really did not know why. I always felt I did not belong or I was not good enough. But it really caused me harm, especially in relationship. I often felt like a second-class citizen. I had difficulty trusting people, and I sincerely believe that from 9 years old up to about 35 years old, I think I had many limitations because of this early childhood wounding. Ineffective behavior is a result of my early limiting decision that I'm not good enough and that people did not want me and I didn't belong. And I tried very hard to survive. And many of us become quite phony, phony. We become quite phony. I became a very nice person. I like to please people because it was my mode of survival. So as a little girl, I survived. That if I can make you happy, you will never reject me. And so that became my life script. And I think it governed my life up to from 9 years old up to when I turned about 35. Because I never studied about transactional analysis until the later stage of my life. So when you talk about script suggests that children lay down a specific plan for their own lives rather than simply a general view of the world. So we do not have a realistic view of the world or of people, but we base it on our early trauma. The notion that people's life decisions and life patterns are very much affected by childhood experiences that are very adversarial and becomes the center of transactional analysis. So when you talk about script, you're talking about life plan. It is almost like a drama in a movie. When you look at life script, it has a clear beginning. So when you start a relationship, I remember as a teenager or as a young adult, the moment I meet people in the beginning, I try to come across like I'm very nice. And I want everyone to like me. And as I go along in the relationship, I find it very stressful because I'm so phony and I'm not the person I am. And it leaves me with a lot of toxin and I feel very stressed at the end. The decision of the child more often than not do not conform to reality. Actually, the people, the social circle around me, they never wanted me to please them. They never asked me to please them, but it was I myself who thought that the reality of the situation is that they want me to please them. In other words, a person's behavior does not always stem from logical assessment. So we lose that logical assessment, and our assessment could be very emotional. And we do not use the adult state, which is logical, rational, analytical, to assess the situation, but we do it with childhood emotions of fear, anxiety, worry, apprehension that I might be rejected. So can I introduce the people from the environment that could affect our life script? I think first of all, the government, their policies, our religion, our colleagues at the workplace, expectation of work performance and KPI, our reporting officer, the culture that we are in. For example, if you come from a culture that believes in collectivism, and so when you try to be individualistic, they describe you as selfish, very self-centered, very narcissistic, because we come from a culture that believes that there has to be a group mentality. What about technology? What if you're born in a pioneer age? What if you're born in a Merdeka age? And in our DNA, we never had technology. And yet technology is a landscape globally. And what if you don't fit? I'm really, although we applaud Singapore and the world for bringing in technology, but I'm pretty sure that technology has also brought about low self-esteem and also a feeling of being incompetent, especially when you work in an environment or you live in an environment where everything about it is QR code, it is about using technology. And what if you do not have the competency? Would that begin to reinforce your early life script that you will never make it? And what about parents? What sort of parents did we have? Did we have parents who were missing? They were missing because they are so busy working? Or do we have parents who suffocate us or got into enmeshment with us? What sort of guardians do we have in the absence of our parents? And what about our educators? What did they say about you when you did not perform well? What did they say about you when you were not able to complete your homework? What did they say about you? Because whatever your school educators comment about you, it can also affect how you see yourself. And of course, our next of kin. So with National Day coming, next of kin gather to celebrate, and they will ask me things like, what sort of job have you got? Where are you living now? How come you have not upgraded yourself? So even your next of kin could also reinforce your life script that I will never make it, and I'm not good enough, and I don't belong to this group. So the environment can also affect our script. Can I talk about life stressor? It can also affect our scripts. And what about if I'm born with pre-existing mental health issues like schizophrenia, bipolar, psychosis, and or personality disorders? Now, such existing mental health issue can also affect our script. What about if we have a genetic disorder? When it was not something we chose, but there's neurological damage at birth and early traumatic event, and we come from a setup in a family where there's lack of family support. I just want to bring along a picture, a newspaper cutting. This is a very young girl. She was having a great time with her friends at the void deck of the HDB. And before she knew it, a group of these young children in their teen years, they actually kidnapped her. And they had this group of children had tortured the frog, had tortured insects, they have tortured cockroaches, and they have tortured the guinea pig, but they have never tortured a human being. So what did they do? They kidnapped her from Christmas Eve right up to the first day of New Year, and they pour hot water on her, and you can see the permanent scarring. And they also did a lot of very inhumane things to her, and she's going to be physically, permanently scarred. So not only will there be emotional wounding, but there will always be that physical scarring. I also look at this in the newspaper, and I remember of the case about Tok, and it was a very long time ago, 2005, when Tok actually raped Juana. Juana was a little girl from China, 5 or 6 years old, and Tok actually raped her and threw her and killed her and put her into the canal of Pasir Panjang. And this is the wife of Tok, and this is the little young son of Tok. And I remember the media corp reporter when this lady and the child was trying to get back to their work life at Pasir Panjang, people were throwing rotten eggs at the little boy and the mother. They were throwing rotten vegetables at them. And I find it very interesting that this little boy, I don't know how old he is, maybe 2 years old, he was already beginning to have primal shame. He's trying to cover his face. And I wonder what sort of life decision at a very young age would he make about the world? Is the world an okay place? Is the world a safe place to be in? And I wonder, with mother, she could be depressed, and I wonder how would that impact this little young boy? I just would like to show you another picture of a household. I think household can impact adverse childhood trauma. Example, divorce. For example, my mom and dad divorced when I was 9 years old. When there's physical and emotional neglect, sometimes when you are being bullied in school, but there was no one there that emotionally comfort you, or physically you were very uncomfortable and you're not feeling well, and there's no one to bring you to the doctor, or were you a victim of school bullying, or were you a victim of bully from the sibling or from the neighbors? What about if you were raised by parents who were very depressed? Another thing is domestic violence. I believe that amidst COVID-19, domestic violence actually had gone up by almost 20%. What about incarcerated? When you have a family members in the prison and the media has caught hold of it, and because your brother is in the prison or your mother was in the prison, and then you have to, the members of the family especially when you're under 12 years old, you would have to go through that early trauma or that early wounding. And what if your parents have mental illnesses, or your mother has an obsessive compulsive disorder, or your father has got a mood disorder, and you're raised up by parents with mental illness? And what if dad was alcoholic, or your mother was using drugs and there was drug abuse, and you're the witness of their suffering? You saw how they lost their job because they couldn't keep sober, and because they were taking drugs. Your brother, your sister, your member of your family, your grandfather, because of their alcoholism, they could never be there in the here and now for you. They could never be emotionally there for you. What about sexual abuse? When no one knew that there was incestuous behavior at home, where there was early sexual invasion, and yet, even though you knew that your mother knew it, but she did not come in to support you or to rescue you from the sexual abuse, either by a stepfather. So I think household impact can averse early wounding. Can I talk about the community? I think community can impact adverse trauma or even early wounding when there's discrimination. I'm very happy that in 2014, under the leadership of Self-Mgt, they begin to talk about a Protection of Harassment Act, that there should be no discrimination against gender, against ageism, against physical challenges. And so what if you're a victim of discrimination? And what about poverty? It's not easy to be poor. It's not easy to watch your mother going around with relatives borrowing money for Chinese New Year. It's not easy to see your mother being rejected by relatives, and relatives are scared of her. And you are the witness of what is happening, being brought up in a family with poverty. What about historical trauma, whereby there was a gang rape that happened to you or to your best friend, inadequate educational opportunities, where there was insufficient funds to see you through school? And what about racism, where parents or elder or maybe authoritative figure make very prejudicial remarks against certain races? Or what if your family did not have enough food, or because your younger brother is on kidney dialysis, and a lot of the food and the nutrition has to be given to him? And so you will find that even in a family, there is never even enough rice or enough food to eat. And then what about violence? And what about poor housing condition? Because the PUB bill was not paid, and so the electricity was cut off. What if you're brought up in this environment? So we call this, today, I'm glad in psychiatry and psychology, they came up with a term that is comparative to TA script. And this is called adverse childhood experience, which are the negative experiences in childhood. So adverse childhood experience, as I mentioned before, it can originate from the household or from the community. And I'd like to suggest to you that all these ACEs or adverse childhood experience can create toxic stress. Left unaddressed, the toxic stress, it can harm children, it can harm family, it can harm organization, it can harm the systems and the community, and reduce the ability of individuals and the community to respond to stressful events with resilience. I would like to share some research studies. Research has shown that there are many ways to reduce and heal from toxic stress and build healthy, caring communities. I think, first of all, we must change our lifestyle. I know I just write the statement here. I know it is extremely challenging. We really have to attend courses on stress management. You've got to hop into social support, get professional help from the counselors, the therapists, the doctors, the psychologists. And one of the things research has found, when you exercise regularly, eat healthily, it can help you with toxic stress, and most of all, improve sleep hygiene. I was looking at the polyclinic. Recently, the polyclinic look at the 4 top mental health conditions that Singaporeans experience. The first one is anxiety, and the second one is depression, and the third one is adjustment problem, and the last one is sleeping hygiene. Do you know many Singaporeans don't sleep enough? And when you don't sleep enough, it will actually makes it very difficult for you to manage stress. May I take this opportunity? All my life when I'm teaching, I always quoted studies from Finland, from United States, from UK, and I'm very proud today Singapore has their own research. So in 2020, IMH found that almost 2 in 3 or 64% of Singaporean resident adults, including PR, have at least one adverse childhood experience in the first 18 years of their lives. This is from IMH. And the sample was 4,400 odd, and they were either Singapore citizen or PR, age 18 and older, which is representative of Singapore population today. And you know what they found out? They found out that 46.5% of Singaporeans have emotional neglect. And this is early trauma. Emotional neglect. This is really early wounding. If I ask myself, Jessica, which one would belong to you? I think 46.5. I think emotionally, no one was there to clean away my tears as I was growing up. And I asked myself, why did you become a counselor? I wanted to clean away my mother's tears. She was a mistress. I think she often missed daddy. I wanted to clean away her tears. She felt very neglected. And as I was a teenager from 9 years old, early teen, I too had emotional neglect. And when my parents divorced at the age of 9, I would fall under 21.8%. Living with a mother or any female figure who had been verbally or physically abused. Emotional abuse is when there is a lot of hard words that are said to you, or you're living with a household member who have committed suicide, who have been mentally ill. Now, all these things can cause trauma, it can cause adversities, and also early wounding. So I'm going to look at transactional analysis. Transactional analysis say, besides the trauma and the adverse incident that happened to you, transactional analysis strongly believe that we do receive drivers in life. Drivers are messages that were given by the authoritative figure, especially when you're 12 and above. When you're 12 and above, the messages that were given by the authoritative figure, that somehow they gave it to you because they are worried about you and they want you to succeed in life and they want you to be okay in life, but unknowingly, it might have unconsciously caused harm to the child. Can I give you some of them? As I read to you, can you ask yourself whether you have any of these drivers that 𝐃𝐑 𝐉𝐄𝐒𝐿𝐻 talk about? I think Singapore as a nation, if I may be bold enough to say, we have the V excellence. So many of us are in early childhood, whether in our upbringing, in our educational system, or even in the workplace, our bosses want us to be perfect. And I wonder, what if you're not perfect? And then some of us also grow up with pleasing others. Pleasing others means I'm not important, and so I have to please you so that you will think that I'm important to you. What about try hard? All your life you keep on trying, but you haven't done it. I try and speak up. I try and have a voice. I try and resign. I try and tell my boss what I want out of my career. We are still trying, but we have not done it. And what about be strong? Don't cry. You're very weak. I remember yesterday. Yesterday I went to a wake because my spouse sister suddenly passed away. You know, as I looked at the members of the family, I knew they were holding back their tears. Why? Because there were many There were many guests there, and so there was no permission to weep. There was no permission to grieve. They had to be strong because they had to put up a persona that they are okay. What about Harrier? Singaporeans also have a very big hurry up driver. Now, you'll be good. I don't know how you're going to do, but I noticed that Glenn asked you to do something. You'll be good if you can key in now. What is one driver that you have? Or two drivers? Can I give you 2 minutes while you begin to key in your drivers? And I'm sure Glenn can see what are the drivers, although I can't see them. Will you just spend a moment for you and you ask yourself which one might be your driver? Is it coming in? What are some of them? There's try hard coming in. There is be strong, hurry up, and all of the above. Well, who you are, you must be suffering all of the above. Life must be very tough for you. Be perfect, be strong. So card number say all 5. Be pleasing. Can I go to a more toxic message? They are called injunctions. So injunctions are usually given before, especially either pre-verbal of a child or in the first 6 to 7 years of life, before primary 1. So injunctions are very toxic and they are passed to a child very early in life. And this is the way they stop the child from being spontaneous. And these are the negative commands that parental figure would give the child. Can I give you some examples? Now, as I show you the injunction, can you key in what are some of the injunctions you have? Let me cite from Golding and Golding. What are they? Can I make a statement? The younger your age that you are given the injunction, the more complex your life is. Any message that was given to you from birth to 18 months, either non-verbally. So when you try to go near, you try to, for example, suck on your mother's breast and she pushed you away because you actually sucked too hard. So as a little child, you felt being pushed away and you have been think that your mother do not want you to be intimate with her. And I think the younger you are, especially those of us who got our injunction before 6 years old, they're the most toxic. So I'm going to give you some injunctions and you see whether you're done. Example, don't be you. Don't be you, be like your cousin. Don't be you. Don't be the sex you are. Don't be yourself. Try and be like your brother. Don't be a child. Don't grow up. You know some parents don't like you to grow up. And so when you try to grow up and you try to go out, when you come back from your social outing, your mother left her dinner behind and didn't eat it. And then she wants you to stay at home to be her child. She doesn't want you to grow up. Don't make it. Do you know when you make it, people are jealous of you? They were your friends, but the moment you make it, they actually push you away. Don't succeed. Don't act. Don't be important. You don't belong. Oh, by the way, this is my injunction. Don't be close. I'm also very scared to be close. I'm scared if I'm close to you, you have the opportunity to reject me. I'm scared. So I'm very scared of intimacy. Don't be healthy. Don't think and don't feel. So these are injunctions. Can I show you more? These are the latest in 2000. Don't feel. Don't be sane. Do you know when you act crazy, all your children come back because your mother call up all of you to come back? So the moment you are saying they don't come back, the moment you're not saying the children are back. Don't be well. The moment you're well, your husband is leaving the marriage. But the moment you're not well and you threaten to be sick, he's still around. Don't trust, because people who you trust, they betray you. Don't be separate. They don't allow individuation. They become very upset when you leave them and you try and focus on your friends rather than your parents. Don't want everything they say. You let people everything don't want. Can I help you? Don't want. Can I do this for you? I'm free. Don't want. You know why they don't want? Because why they've been rejected too often. Don't enjoy. Some people, even when they are enjoying, they have to be busy. Don't relax. They don't know how to relax. They become workaholics. Don't feel. They have problem with attachment. Don't be thankful. Have you seen people who are ungrateful? I didn't ask you to help. You volunteered to help. So why are you complaining? Don't be thankful and don't be visible. Some of us are very afraid to be visible. Do you know we are always backstage? We are always taking second row and backstage role, and we are never taking the lead role. So these are the injunctions. Can you key in which injunction you think you have? Can I wait 2 minutes for you? Oh, don't be a child. Don't trust. Don't be yourself. Don't relax. Sorry? Okay, don't trust again. Don't try. Don't be visible. I'm going to move on. Glenn, can I negotiate? Because I IT interruption for 10 minutes. Can I get it back and continue for 10 minutes? May I?
Yes, yes, no problem at all. Please continue. We want to hear from you.
Okay, can you see this is an ocean? Drivers are usually above water level. They are less detrimental. They have less negative impact. But the injunctions are very toxic. These are the ones that healing is tough. If you ask me if this is your client, you need more counseling sessions if you have an injunction. If it is a driver, you probably need about 2 or 4 counseling sessions. But if you have an injunction, you might need up to 6 or 10 sessions to help you to heal. Because injunctions are very primal, very non-verbal, and they can be very toxic. So can I give you an example of injunction? So injunctions can make the child write your own script that I don't belong. If it's a child who decides what to do with the injunction. So when a message is given to you, it is left there, but the child decides what to do with the injunction. So if someone rejects you, you then accept the injunction that I don't belong. I don't belong to everyone. So if you have a don't belong, one child may accept an injunction as it stands. It's very interesting. You can give the same message injunction, but every child will interpret it and make early decisions differently. So you can have one who take it literally. And then this message may be conveyed as an injunction by the parents who continually tell the child he's different from other children. You know, you're so shy. Your brother is so sociable. Your sister has so many friends. You know, your younger sister is so easy to raise and you're so difficult. You know you don't belong to this family. Another may modify it ingeniously to ease out the impact. So you might not accept it. You might say things like, I belong to certain people and I don't belong to certain people. And another might say to herself, who say I don't belong and I belong to everyone? Can you see? They have got different impacts on different people. Can I have don't exist? If your mom say to you, I wish I never gave birth to you, then I would not be suffering today. And when your sister say, I wish I never had a sister like you, the young person might say, I wish I was dead. Now you know why people harbor suicidal thoughts. Why is it there's suicidal ideation? Why is it that for 10 years they have thoughts of harming self, but didn't have the courage to act on it? Why? They have an injunction called don't exist. So what do? Dr. Pat Drago from India said, we must give permission. A dear therapist, you must give permission to the client to leave. You've got to be potent. You've got to be credible. You've got to be professional. And you've got to give protection to them when you ask them and when you give them permission to leave. Pat Crossman, patients need permission to cancel injunction. And the therapist needs first to understand your client's injunction, your client's driver, before you can help them. To me, Metaphorically, life is like a stack of coins. One coin represents 1 year. All you need is when you're 9 years old, or you have an early wounding. And you know that coin now is warped, is bent, and is damaged because your mother left you, or your parents divorced, or you were ostracized. Now that 9 years old and that damaged coin, when you try to stack subsequent coins, you know the personality becomes unstable. So you got an injunction at the age of 6 or 7 that you shouldn't exist. As long as you have that negative thinking of the injunction, it will affect subsequent years of life, and we call that unstable personality. So I'm just looking at this little girl. When she was 9 years old, she carried a baggage of fear. If she doesn't change, if she doesn't heal, when she's 9 years old, she becomes 19 years old, she still carries the emotional baggage of fear. Why? Because she has not healed. Why? Because she has not changed. So when you have early wounding, ladies and gentlemen, the first thing it does is that it will give you emotional pain. Like for me, it is always feeling hurt, always sad, always scared of rejection, very jealous of people who have got a wholesome family, very anxious that you will reject me, so I would have emotional pain. You know, I would have relationship problems, scared of being rejected, and then I'm afraid to be close to you for fear you will push me away, and you've got negative thoughts. People don't like me, they only just pity me, and you can also have a self-esteem issue. Can you see? Early wounding can cause all these 4 things in you. So remember, many of the problems that you present have their roots in early childhood and in early relationship with your caregiver. So a variation of this difficulty is often the perpetuated in the current relationship. What am I saying? The same relationship you had as a child, when you get married and you've got another family, you might bring in the infested child from your own family of origin and you bring it to your current family. Therefore, if you carry old bricks from your past relationship to your new ones, you will end up building the same house that fell apart in the whole house. So can I give you something to go away with? How to be calm again? Ladies and gentlemen, I hope after this talk, you can be calm again. Ladies and gentlemen, I cannot change the past. It's over. Please don't try to change the past. It's over. You must do this painful process called accept it. And you must learn to let go the person who never wanted you, let go in a divorce, let go the problem, because you are not the problem. Let go the pain and let go the past. And I hope after today that you will, after National Day, you will now manage the here and the now. Remember, your home address is the now, and you should not live in the past. So don't live in your past, live in the present for the future. When you live in the past, you are in a scrape. So can I talk about life position? Just 2 more concepts. Life position is the way you see yourself because of early wounding. It's the way you see others and the way you see the world. So for example, if you are in jail for a small petty crime and you are put in jail for 7 weeks, and therefore, now what do you believe about yourself? That I'm not okay. What do you believe in others? And what do you believe about the world now? It can affect you. I think it is very important in transactional analysis that you must go back to I am okay. That you must bring back whatever is your past. You must bring back that I am valuable, I am worthwhile, and I have got dignity, and you must accept yourself. Don't wait for people to accept you. You must first of all accept yourself. Now, there's this guy called Dr. Byrne. He said that when you have got trauma or wounding, you get out of this birth position called I'm okay and you're okay, And do you know, when I was 9 years old, I went into this life position. I'm not okay, and you are okay. And the world is also not okay. And you know, some of us go into this position, I'm okay, and you're not okay. Can I tell you a secret? 55% of Singaporeans are in position 3. Because I've done this test for nearly more than 20,000 tests were done. Many Singaporeans is in number 3. Now, most of these people are either, they sometimes end up in IMH, sometimes they end up in the mortuary, and sometimes they can also end up in jail. And sometimes they can end up really having a lot of self-destruction. And this is, I'm not okay, you're not okay. No matter what life position you are in, after today, can you please come home? You know where's your home? I'm okay, and you're okay, and the world is an okay place. So what is the goal of today and therapy? Is to go back to I'm okay and you are okay. Last concept, remember when you're under trauma, you can end up like a victim, a persecutor, or a rescuer. And I tell you another secret, whenever you act like a rescuer, act like a persecutor, act like a victim, you are playing games. You are playing games, and games are very unproductive, very unhealthy, and it impacts on mental health. So you got to watch out that you're not a persecutor. Can you ask yourself, just for 1 second, who are you persecuting now in your life? Who has harmed you and you're persecuting them? You know now you're a prisoner. Because what? You still have anger, you still have resentment. Some of us are rescuers. We think people are not okay, so I better rescue them, and you're never appreciated. And some of us are victims. Until now, we have not recovered. So I have a slide how to be better. I hope after today, I'd like to thank S.A. Choi from Sydney. She said that instead of being a victim, can you put value on yourself? Instead of being a persecutor, can you just be assertive and firm? And instead of being a rescuer, can you be a counselor, a mentor, a counselor, or a coach, or a consultant? You can now change to healthy roles. So as I leave you this evening, sorry I overtook 5 minutes, but I'd like to end up with a poem. I have been victimized. I was in a fight that was not a fair fight. I did not ask for the fight, and I lost. There is no shame in losing such fight. I have reached the stage of survival and am no longer a slave of victim status. I look back with sadness rather than hate. I look forward with hope rather than despair. I may never forget, but I need not constantly remember. I was a victim, and today I am a survivor. So because I'm also in academia, I'm never said to be a good teacher unless I recommend books. So these are the books that they're going to send you on the Vibina that you can buy. So I'd like to thank Glenn for inviting me. I'd like to thank ECTA alumni, current students, and all those individuals from other organizations, other people from elsewhere who have joined us. If you ask me what is this 1 hour and 5 minutes, I think it is educating the heart. Thank you everyone for attending this seminar. I appreciate it. Over to you, Glenn.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Jessica Leong. We would like to open up the Q&A right now. I've just peeped into the Pigeonhole, which is our third-party platform. Questions already put out here. Quite a lot of questions, Dr. Leong, for you to answer. What we'll do is that we'll pick out only those that has the highest number of votes. Obviously, we can't be answering all the questions here. So without much further ado, can I just jump into the questions? And Dr. Leong, would you be able to answer them? The first question here would be, can these early childhood wounds just go away with time?
I think this is a very good question. I'd like to answer, it could be yes, it could be no. I often have witnessed, even in my counseling experience, that sometimes with time, because the memory does fade, and you can't remember the trauma too accurately, and over time, you might not heal completely, you might have residue, but they don't last, they go away. But I can categorically state that people who actually take action to look into those childhood wounds, either through social support, or through counseling, or through support from friends. And I strongly believe that if the early wounding has not even gone away after 3 years or 18 months, I think one should get support. And for early wounding, if it's still disturbing you, distressing you, I urge you to reach out for professional help.
Manifest in adulthood and even in the future. Yeah, thank you so much. Next few questions together, I will try to collapse some of these similar type questions. What can we do to deal with injunctions? And then earlier on, there was a question also, how do I give permission, right? Because you talk about giving yourself permission.
Permission, I answer. How to give, so I'd like to answer first of all, as a clinician. I think before we can give ourselves permission to leave, I think it is very important, first of all, to find out what are the causative factors or the predisposing factor or the perpetuating factor or the things that are currently existing in your life that gives you no permission to leave. I think you need to go back, if you're using a cognitive behavioral therapy, you need to look at the 3 Ps. What are the predisposing, the precipitating, and the perpetuating factors that is suggesting to you that you shouldn't leave? And then on your own, you have to build your protective factor. And the first thing to do is to not interact with anyone in your current life who seem to suggest that you shouldn't leave. I think you should, if you have a choice in life, minimize contact and minimize interaction with these people. But what if I have no choice? The person who's doing that, you cannot kick the person out of your life. I think you must learn to vote with your feet. The moment the person tries to invade it and tell you that you shouldn't exist, you must learn to vote with your feet and walk away. And then learn all those things like breathing exercise. And you can do mindfulness, you can do relaxation exercise, and you now need to build an inner voice that says, I have the right to leave. And you keep on strengthening that inner voice that says to you, I have the right to leave. And you call that self-compassion.
Wow, thank you. I'm going to move on to the next few questions because this is a leading question towards giving yourself permission to live. How do we deal with these injunctions, either on our own or, what steps can I take to work on these injunctions?
First of all, is to look at timeline. Timeline here is very important because the injunction you just learned this evening belongs to the past. So the moment you are disturbed or distressed by the injunction, you have brought the past into the present. So it is almost like digging the graveyard. You don't want to do that. So I will suggest to you to put back the injunction in the past and to have a relative check that this injunction does not exist at this moment for you. And so we call that the relative check. And you have to manage the now and put the injunction back into the past and lock it up, in my opinion, if you're trying to heal the injunction yourself.
Okay, thanks so much. Interesting question now that I'm going to kind of swing towards. Can injunctions occur to young adults or adults?
Good. Throughout our life, you can have injunctions. However, the good news is injunctions are most lethal, lethal, if they were given in early childhood. But the good thing is this, that when you are 12 and above and the injunctions coming, you know that we have the ability to analyze the injunction. We have the ability to say this injunction is not me. So may I suggest 3 A's for you? Whenever someone gives you an injunction now, you bring out 3 A's. The first A is to be aware that this is an injunction. And number 2, can you assessment? Can you assess this injunction? What context was it given? The person who gave it to you, how is this person related to you? And what is the quality of the relationship? And what is the hidden agenda of the person who gave you the injunction? You assess it. And you know what is the third thing? Any injunction given to you, take no action. No action needs to be taken. And these are called the 3 A's. They are called what? Protective factors of life. You remember the 4 P's in CBT? The 4th P is called the protective factor of life. And this is how you help yourself as an adult or young adults when you're given injunctions.
Thank you. Maybe now the next few questions will be more from the perspective of a helper, a people helper. So questions regarding the modality of TA. How can we use TA to help seniors work on some of their past hurts? I mean, it's been so long for some of them.
Thank you. I think, Glenn, I really think that this question is often not addressed. I think I would imagine that if you are, it's very important for the elderly that although we might not erase the past for them, if the elderly still has memories of the past that's still so painful, I think first of all, you use your listening skill. You've got to listen. You've got to listen to you've got to allow them to do the narrative of pain. And I hope that you would use your second competency called the empathic communication. That you would not just listen to the past, but you will listen to it to understand the emotions that surround the issue. And also thirdly, to remind them that they are not alone today. If they are in an elderly home, they have the infrastructure there. And if you are the counselor of this elderly person, she's not alone. You will be there for her. And of course, last of all, you cannot change her path, but certainly you can clean away her tears. And I hope that you will help this person to go into self-care, even though she cannot change the past, but she should take care of herself in the present by eating well, small exercises, and also sleeping well. I think these are the things she can do to help herself in the here and now.
Well, thank you for the reminder, because sometimes as practitioners, we tend to look at them as projects rather than humans. Thank you for that reminder to be empathetic. The next two questions I kind of want to collapse together. They talk about the various modalities that can work with TA. For example, solution-focused brief therapy looks at the future, but TA looks at the past wounds. Do they complement each other or contradict? And or how about someone, a client with multiple personality disorders? I mean, how would TA fit into that?
Okay. First of all, maybe I can go into that. I think transactional analysis is very user friendly. So, I beg to differ from that question. Transactional analysis hop into the past to understand the present, and the aim is to project to the future. So, in this sense, as much futuristic as SFMgt is, so is TA. But we don't hop into the future unless we have understood the past and how it has impacted the present. If the person just asks for SFMgt, anything else? Any modality?
What if a client has multiple personality disorders?
I think if the person has multi-personality disorder, I think these are very complex cases. And I think the first intervention would be the medical intervention, where you have a psychiatrist who's managing it with the appropriate medication. I think for us, I think TA is very strong so for example, if you have a person with a personality disorder called, maybe the person could be having one personality disorder like maybe antisocial. So I think it is very important that TA look at the preferred ego state that the antisocial would use as a personality disorder. So I think when the person has multiple personality disorder, this is a very complex case. And I don't think that I would have and I wish this person could come and talk to me, and I would love to actually have a conversation, because I think this question is very complex and I shouldn't answer it in a casual way. That would be actually not taking you seriously and the question. So I would be very welcome to have a cup of tea with you at 1 Siang Road and really talk to you, because I think you brought along a question that deserves more attention than what I'm giving you. I apologize.
Well, thank you, Dr. Jessica, for the invitation even to come to your school, ECTA. And with that, we kind of need to wrap this portion out because of time. I'm sure there are a lot more questions, but due to that MindMatters Masterclass, we've got the next one in store for you. But before that, I've taken note of some questions, as well as we've got some private texts and messages along the way for those of you who are really interested to find out your own injunctions and maybe drivers that are driving your life right now. We're offering a complimentary, as we always do, counseling consultation. We call it a complimentary psycho consult. And at the end of that session, we will hope to give you resources or make it, or even make referrals for you. So this is the link as well as the QR code that you can just apply for this free complimentary consultation. Next, well, our next Master, a 4-day, 3-night holistic wellness retreat, promising a rejuvenating therapeutic experience because we kind of blend and fuse those therapeutical elements inside. It's called Thrive. Thrive is a bespoke 4-day, 3-night weekend getaway. And our next run is end of November. So we're kind of wanting to announce this slightly earlier so that we can all secure our flight tickets. Flight tickets, as we all know, during peak season is actually quite expensive. But if we can do it in August, well, we've got a very small capacity of maybe 10 to 12 of us, and I'll be personally hosting you guys at Chiang Mai in the cool mountain tops. And with that, we've got many other programs as well. And if you fail to pick up all the links, don't worry, we have them all clustered under our Linktree page, which again, the QR code is here. And obviously in the chat box, we are pumping in that URL link as well. With that, thank you so much, everybody, for joining us on a National Day Eve.